Welcome to Mafia Family Ties. John Lang, a.k.a. Bills Elvis. Thank you for joining me today. This is our maiden voyage, our first episode, so thank you for being a part of it.
Of course, yeah. It's great to see you again, Del.
Always, right? So it's great to see you. So I guess the whole point of this podcast is just to get to know who the different people are in the fan base. Because we all see each other either on television in the front row waving our guitar, or in the tailgate lots beforehand, or maybe different parties and events around the city, during the season and off season. So I just wanted to help people get to know who Bills Elvis is a bit. So let's start with, before we get to Bills Elvis, who's John Lang? Tell me your story, man. Who are you? What's going on?
I feel like a mystery guest today without my suit on, but I am a 62-year-old guy with 2 kids and a wife, and I've been in sales since 1990 and live up in Lockport, and it's it's a great life I have. I have a riot being Bills Elvis, and I started that in 1992, and I try to have a great day every day. I really do.
That's awesome. So, all right, Bills Elvis. What started that? What keeps it going? We know who John Lang is. Who is Bills Elvis?
So it basically started on a goof in 1992. A buddy of mine bet me I couldn't get on television, and I scoured my back room of my apartment for something to make me stand out. Found a guitar, put Squish the Fish on the guitar, and my wife painted some sideburns on me and some chest hair, and they had me on the broadcast. They had me, I was on ESPN later that night. I was on in the Buffalo News the next day, and my whole section just had a riot with it. Everybody's like, you got to keep doing this. You got to do it again. You got to do it again. And I had a riot with it too. I'm like, okay, I'll have to figure this out. So, yeah, since then it's been a hoot. It really has.
Yeah, I think you are one of the first people I recognized being on the broadcast. Felt like every week, there's Elvis. I'm sure other people were doing it before you, or maybe not. The whole idea of dressing up and becoming a persona as you walk into the stadium or whatever.
Yeah, it didn't seem like anybody dressed up back in 1992, and I mean, it was right off the bat. People had a riot with it, and to this day, I have people come up to me and they said, when I was a little kid, I saw you on TV and I saw you at a game, and I'm like, geez, you're old now, and that makes me really old, but it's an absolute riot. It really is.
That's awesome. So talking about going into the stadium, before you go into the stadium, your tailgate ritual, tell me a little bit about that.
So on a typical 1:00 game, we have about 75 of us from Lockport, and we're all in the big grass lot on Southwestern there in the back corner. We've got a guy, Tony Roman, that basically is taking charge of our tailgate. He did it 15, 20 years ago, and he does an amazing job. He's got a bus with all the grills and a smoker, and he's there. He'll get there at 5:30 to get our spot and get everything going. And it's a great tailgate. Like I said, about 75 of us from Lockport that all tailgate there. This year we had, my son's band was the first band to play at the home opener, and then my band played after that for another game. It's great. It really is. It's just the sense of camaraderie and everybody getting together, all celebrating the same thing is just wonderful to me.
Yeah. So you have a little stage set up for these bands, or what's that setup look like?
No, it's we're right next to the bus on the ground. We got generators that power everything, and it's really wonderful. It really is.
That's great. So I know you carry a guitar. Do you play the guitar in your band, or?
I am a horrible guitar player, and I try not to play. No, I'm just the singer, the vocalist.
I love it. I love it. I did get to see you perform Johnny Cash at Hofbräu House a couple years ago, and you nailed it. So that was really cool. And how long have you been doing that tailgate?
The Lockport crew, we started, I got to say, there was a guy that started it back in the 80s, and he retired out of it when the Bills kind of moved, or I should say when they started having us come in after 9 o'clock. And this guy kind of retired out of it, and Tony Roman from Lockport stepped up and took it over then. And it's been basically the same crew. Although when I first started coming around, I was the young guy at the tailgate. Now I'm the old guy at the tailgate.
Circle of life.
Yeah.
Awesome. So as we dig in a little bit into like the fan culture bit of how we're going to do these conversations on Mafia Family Ties, what is being a member of Bills Mafia, being a Bills fan? What does that mean to you?
Well, I tell anybody we're the greatest fan base in the history of any sport ever, hands down. And to be part of that is really cool. And I've been, a Bills fan since I was a little kid. Some of my greatest childhood memories are sitting with my grandfather watching a Bills game. It just doesn't get any better than that as a Bills fan. To be part of it now and then be fan of the year like yourself, I mean, it's amazing. It really is. It's just amazing, and I have a riot with it. I relish every second of it.
So, okay, so you talk about you started in '92 doing the Elvis thing, and before that you were growing up, with your family watching games and everything. It's been a lot of ups and downs in that time. How have you kept that going, that energy going for these decades as a Bills fan?
Yeah, the drought years were tough, no doubt about it. I mean, I remember getting up on November Sunday morning, and my kids were like this high, and my wife had to take my daughter to play practice and my son to hockey practice, and it wasn't easy to get out of the house. And I remember my son one time, he came up to me and goes, "Dad, you're just going to come home all drunk and disappointed and mad." And I'm like, I was like, oh my God.
That's funny.
And, it's part of fandom, you're a fan through and through, and that's how it goes. And I feel lucky I'm part of this community and part of the fan base. I really do.
I remember when my daughter was little, I remember her specifically saying, it was after some random Dick Duran loss and they're in the drought, "Dad, why do you keep watching them if they're so bad? They make you sad all the time." I was like, someday you'll get it. You'll understand. But all right, so in terms of the tailgating and the stadium, how do you see that transition go from, or how would you describe that, going from it's Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, 12:30, you're going into the stadium, you've been tailgating for however many hours at that point. How do you see that translating into the stadium experience?
It's just awesome. It was like I just wear like regular clothes while I'm tailgating, so I'll put my suit on right before I go in, and I get stopped I don't know how many hundreds of times as I walk in, and it's a riot. I mean, I love every second of that. I have a riot with the whole thing. And, on our way in, we have our rituals of stopping at the Crown Royal truck and doing a shot with Lance over there and that crew, and I love that. And then it's like to go down to section 126 in the front row. Everybody's high-fiving everybody and me, and it's just awesome. Yeah, it is.
Feels like coming home once a week, right?
Yeah. It's like you walk into that stadium and it's just electric, and it's I mean, for somebody that has never experienced it, it's something that you need to try to do. That's for sure. It really is.
Now, getting in a little bit into like your own personal memories with the team and everything. Do you have a favorite all-time Bills player?
I guess it's like I have probably a few or whatever. I see Steve Tasker around a lot. He's just super great guy. I've gotten to do commercials with I think we did the same one there with him. And I just saw him the other night at a function, and he goes out of his way to be nice. He's a good guy. Another really funny story is I knew Colt Anderson, who was a safety for us a few years back. I knew him when he was going to college at the University of Montana, and he was bartending at my favorite bar out in Missoula, Montana. And I'd be sitting there talking to him, and he was probably a sophomore in college. and he was on the team, and he's bartending for me. And just the greatest guy, hardworking guy. And then he was a junior, and then as a senior, I'm out at the end of the bar talking to him, and he was like, "Hey, Elvis, the Vikings called me the other day." And I go, "Oh, you're full of crap. They did not." And he's like, "No, they really called me. The Vikings called me." And I'm like, good for you. Good luck. I go, "Let me know when you come to a real town and a real team and play for the Bills or whatever." Well, he went from the Vikings to the Eagles to the Colts, and then the Bills picked him up. And next thing you know, he's standing in my garage drinking a beer with me. And I was like, what a cool thing. It was like to know the kid when he was a bartender in college, and then he's playing for the Bills. And we still are we're in touch all the time. I just saw him a couple of weeks ago because he's the special teams coach for Tennessee. So when he came to town with Tennessee, I got to talk to him the night before and stuff. And that's really, to me, a really cool story. And we're still great friends.
Yeah,
so.
That is a cool story. Now, real quick, you said my favorite bar in Missoula, Montana, and I know that you get out to Wyoming once or twice a year. At least that's what it looks like from afar. Real quick, just how do you Montana? I kind of get the Wyoming bit. Like, what's going on there? How are you ending up in these?
I have
areas?
land out in Missoula, Montana, and actually started going out there in the 80s and fell in love with the town. And I started playing rugby for the local team there. Then I refereed at their rugby tournament every year. I did 20 years in a row. I refereed at their big tournament that they have out there. And so I spend a lot of time in Missoula. I love the town. I really do. So actually, I'm a season ticket holder for the University of Montana Grizz. So,
So there's not like some other like South Dakota or Idaho story that's going to come out eventually.
No, maybe Wyoming. I'm there. Yeah. I've made some great friends now at the University of Wyoming, and the locals in Laramie are just great people too.
I love it. So real quick, jumping back to tailgating, you've been to a lot of tailgates. You've put on a lot of tailgates. When I say tailgate memory, like what's the first thing that comes to your mind over all these years? Like the one memory, like your favorite moment.
Oh boy, a lot of the interviews and stuff that I've been doing at our tailgates for years are pretty cool. Like Barstool Sports came out, El Presidente, and interviewed me before a game one time, and there's just been a lot of neat stuff like that. And other than that, it's kind of hard to narrow it down because it's just been the camaraderie and the food and the booze that's out, and everybody's just having a great morning and a great day. And it's just, it's hard to pick an absolute favorite moment, but it's always entertaining to watch people slipping on the ice and jumping through tables, but not that I encourage all that, but.
So, okay, I'm going to make it even more difficult now. You've probably been to more games than you have been tailgates, I'd imagine. Your favorite game memory, whether it's home, away, like what really sticks out? I know I'm sure it's really difficult to pick, but there's got to be one or two that really like I'll always remember this moment.
Yeah, there was the cold games back in like '93 where we played the Jets and the Raiders that year, and I remember it was like -20, and we were out tailgating, and you had to put your beer in a cooler to keep it from freezing. It was that cold. So that was pretty interesting. Also, of course, the comeback game that my wife and I are in there, and she's like, at halftime, should we leave? Do we want to leave? And I'm like going, well, let's give it a little bit more. And back then, you could bring in a cooler, and we had like a little cooler of beer at our feet. And I was like, well, let's drink another beer and think about it. And so third quarter, all of a sudden the momentum started to change, and it was like these gusts of wind, and it was just like this miraculous like intervention from God or something. It was incredible to see us turn that game around and the momentum, and yeah, it's something I'll never forget.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank goodness for onside kicks, right? I think they converted a couple in that game.
Yeah, there was that. It was just a crazy gusts of wind, and like all of a sudden it would snow a little, and then it was crazy. It was just amazing.
Yeah. All right. So as we begin to wind this interview down, if you could describe Bills fandom, being a Bills fan, in one word, what's the word you're choosing?
Wow. In one word, it's pretty difficult. I mean, I tell anybody, we're the craziest, we're the wackiest, no doubt about it, but we are the most generous and just like the most incredible fan base that there ever was, hands down.
Okay, so you mentioned generous, and I think that's actually a really good quick segue. You do a lot of fundraising yourself. You do a lot of charitable work yourself. I know, and you have the Tailgate in Lockport and everything. And I just learned that, I think last year, that's something that you're doing every year. Can you describe that real quick, or can you explain that or share it with everybody?
So yeah, a few years ago, I started my own foundation because I had people saying, "Hey, we want to donate to this and want to donate to that," and then it was like, let me start my own foundation, and then I can try to raise money for local charities and that sort of thing. And it's been overwhelmingly awesome. It really has. That I'm able to help out some of the local charities and stuff. And our Tailgate in Lockport, we raised I think it was $13,000 last year for kids escaping drugs. This year we've donated into a couple of things, and one of them is the Challenger Sports Group up in Lockport, and I gave them $10,000 the other day, which is really awesome. Yeah.
That is really awesome because everybody knows you for the sideburns and the glasses and the guitars, obviously. But that is the greatest thing you should be known for. I commend you on it. Seriously, that's awesome. Okay, so I have a final question here. Maybe somebody's watching this, listening to it for the first time. They've never been to a Bills game, right? And what advice do you have if they're coming to the game? Because I get this a lot too. People will DM me or email me, say, "Hey, what should I expect?" Or what's your answer to them? So I can just copy you from now on. What's your answer to people?
It's funny. I have a lot of people that contact me from out of town. They say, "We're coming in for the game. What do you recommend?" So I tell them get there painfully early. It's like, if you think you should get there at 8, get there at 6:30 or whatever. Get your car parked wherever it is and walk around and take it in. It's just like you can park in our lot at 5:30 or whatever, park near me, and then you can just hang with us for a while and walk around and take in the Hammer lot if you can, and take in the Mafia House and all the cool things that are going on. Make sure you go to the Bills store and get something if you need it. And just make sure you get there early enough to where you're not rushed and you're not sitting in traffic and you can take it all in. That's what I try to tell anybody, and enjoy that great day. At the stadium, I love it in the fourth quarter when they're singing Mr. Brightside, and I, of course, see your shirt. And what's the story with your shirt there? Yeah, everybody loves this song. It's kind of become the anthem for the team the past couple seasons. We just wanted to come up with something that people can wear to celebrate that. So it's at 26shirts.com. It helps a local family in need. Nice, really nice.